Hey everyone, it's time for another live look at the astrology. My name is Katie Sweetman, and this is your look at the astrology for July 29th through August 4th, 2024. I had to think about it for a second. We are going into August, and even I was writing about that in my content this week. I'm like, what? How did we get to August? But if you are watching live, as always, do say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. And for those that do not know who I am, my name is Katie Sweetman, and I'm an astrologer and psychic medium presently located in Maryland. Normally, I'm in New York City or the New York City area. Yeah, just for the temporary time being, spending some time with my dad. So here we are. Again, we are on the edge of August, and as we go into this week, we are actually coming to the end of the lunar cycle. So if you recall, we had a new moon back on July 5th. We will have a new moon this week, although it will be Sunday, so at the end of this week on August 4th. I really don't think the moon gets its fair due in astrology. It's often relegated to the planet of feelings and emotions. And while that is true, somewhat, it's not the full story because the moon is really one of the most powerful drivers in the lunar cycle for our experiences. The moon is the great witness to your life, all the different cycles, all the different stages of your life, and even for humanity as well. The moon is always there. For example, following the lunar cycle is really powerful because we can sort of see these natural markers and chapters of time. This is something that the ancients have been doing, for eons. That's why it's called the ancients. And so when we have a new moon, we go into this new lunar month, but it's through the prism and through the lens of the archetype of the zodiac sign that new moon is in. So when we had that new moon back on July 5th, it was Cancer season, and we went into a lunar month that was, kind of plus or minus aligned with our solar month. Sometimes it's not like that, but it said that over the next 4 weeks, we were going to be experiencing life set on the stage of the archetype of Cancer. Cancer is a water sign. I realize we're not in Cancer season anymore, but we are still, 1 foot in the end of a lunar month that was, again, through the prism of Cancer. Cancer as this sign that talks about roots and home and foundation and family and past and memory. And it's also a sign that doesn't get its fair due in astrology, but it really, on one level, supports and holds us up. And on the flip side, can show us that sometimes the past can be a tie that binds as opposed to something that supports us. So it's a little bit of a complicated archetype. Then again, all the signs have their complexities. And so this has been, maybe the past 4 weeks, we've felt emotional, we've dipped into the past, we've looked at themes around family and home. Am I getting what I need? Do I feel safe and secure? How do I create the home that I need? How do I create the family that I need? And the personal example that I've used is that, here I am, it just happens to be Cancer season. I'm spending time with my dad, and, I'm not in the house that I grew up in, but, certainly it's a family home, for example. And even going back to, we do have a family beach house in Delaware, and I'm in a place where, I spent my summers as a kid, and that brings up nostalgia, maybe complicated emotions. And so again, that's just a personal example. So when we have the new moon, I was going to say the sun, when we have the new moon on August 4th, oh God, almost October, August 4th, now we're in a lunar month that is set on the stage of Leo. Leo is a very different sign than Cancer. Leo is a fire sign. In astrology, there are 4 elements: fire, earth, air, and water. So when we go into Leo, like the page turns again, or like the set renews itself, and then we step into this energy of fire, creativity, self-expression. Fire is the energy of life. It's a little bit different than the first fire sign, which is Aries. That's the spark of life, the raw spark of life that we see really exemplified when we had the first of spring. and at least the zodiacs do follow the seasons in the northern hemisphere. So if Aries is that raw rebirth of light, then Leo is the sort of this energy of passion. It's the light of the sun. It's this energy that's meant to light us up and give us joy. Of course, like we have complicated experiences in our life, and so it might be a season when we have to look at both sides of the coin, so to speak. We need to see where we have not been having a chance to do the things that we love or really put time into our passion. And on the other side of thing, of course, is to renew these things in our life. So we have this Leo new moon on August 4th, so on Sunday at the end of this week. And I wanted to kind of go back to this past lunar month, and also the fact that it's the end of July, and I know I've said this a few times, and maybe I've said it a little bit too many times at this point, but it's for you to all understand why July is the linchpin for the astrology of this year, or at least one of them. Because for July, and especially that new moon period from July 5th all the way to this new moon period to come on August 4th, this is the lunar month that ties together two solar eclipses. So we had the solar eclipse on April 8th. If you are in the United States and Canada, in parts of Mexico, this is the same solar eclipse that you could see visibly. There will be a solar eclipse on October 2nd. So this lunar period brought together these two eclipses, and we can see how the eclipse energy can come to the forefront, even though we are 3 months after an eclipse or 3 months before an eclipse. Over the past couple of years, August was the month that was really the space between the two eclipses. I would say even going into August of 2021, but especially August of 2022 and 3. Now that energy, because of the eclipse cycle, is beginning to move to July, and we're actually going to start to see it move even into June next year. So it's for us when we get into 2025 to see how the eclipse energy is manifesting in June and July 2025. I know that's a year from now. We got time, but I wanted to kind of show you how your astrology sausage is made, so to speak. And it's important because we can see how our lives become like these intersecting points throughout the month of July of this year. Maybe we've seen major events. Again, the personal example that I use is that I moved back in with my father, just to kind of make a very long story short. And I knew, because of my own personal astrology, for those that know a little bit of technical stuff, my IC, which is one of the 4 angles, is 16 Aries. So the eclipse on April 8th was, it was 19 Aries. So that's pretty close. It's what's called a 3-degree orb in astrology speak. And so I knew that there was going to be a change in my living situation. I think the little bit of the plot twist for me is that I thought it was just going to be, I'm going to go back to Brooklyn. And then, events and sort of variables, I was like, actually, I'm going to go move in temporarily with my dad. And now because of his health, there's just more question marks. So I knew as an astrologer that that was going to be an event, and that event might manifest. It just happened to line up with my lease in June and July. So that's just, some personal examples. And so another reason why, to kind of go back to August, and why August in the past few years has been very interesting, is that the previous 7 Augusts, I know, go back all the way to August of 2017, had the energy of Uranus very highlighted. We had Uranus retrograde in August. Now it's moved to I think it's the 1st of September of this year. So it's said that August was a time when we could see a lot of shifts and changes, because Uranus is the planet of awakenings, and sometimes when things can change very quickly and unexpectedly. And throw some eclipse energy in over the past couple of years, in August, probably 21, 2022, 2023, were very interesting months. I don't know, maybe you're like, what are you talking about, Katie? Everything was fine. Maybe not for you, maybe for some people. It really depends on your personal astrology. So that's just some background information of why, especially for this past July, we've had a lot of things to navigate, because and I even said this on my Instagram today, July has been a preview of October. So I was like, somebody was like, October? Well, because we have that eclipse again on October 2nd, it will be at 10 degrees of Libra. So we've been hitting what are called like the 90-degree points all throughout July. So anyway, again, that's some technical astrology for you all. But yes, we are going into August, and August is a little bit of a different month than it has been the past few years because, number one, we don't have the eclipse energy. Number two, we don't have Uranus turning retrograde in August. So maybe we can enjoy the Leo energy, the energy of play, creativity, getting back to the spark of life. I will say, not to put a little bit of damper on it, we do have Jupiter squares Saturn in August. We also have Mars squares Saturn. These are, Jupiter square Saturn doesn't happen very often, but it just says that August is a month to make things real, to put things into shape and into form, to make commitments, because that's the energy of Saturn, which we don't always think goes too well with Leo energy. But if Leo is creativity, if it's the spark, that spark needs to become real. It needs to animate something. And so that's going to be a little bit of the overlay with the astrology of August. That said, this week, because we are wrapping up the lunar month, it is a week to just, by the nature of the archetype of the end of the lunar month, it's a time to rest. It's a time to reflect. We've had a lot of ups and downs over the past 3-4 weeks. What have we learned? What have we seen in our own life? What have been the changes that we have made? What have been the changes that are happening around us? And so we need to find our footing so that we can prepare to go into the next lunar month starting on Sunday, August 4th. It's a little bit of a quiet week. Famous last words. We do have Venus square Uranus this week. This will be on August 2nd, Friday. So that's really that, plus the new moon is the major energies of this week. Venus square Uranus. Venus is something to kind of keep our eye on because Venus is the planet of relationships. It's socialization. It's how we connect on a one-on-one level. But it's also a money planet. It talks about what we value, what we invest in, what we think is valuable. For example, it's even self-worth. It could mean, especially because Venus is one of the planets that holds the energy of the eclipses, that there's something about relationships this week. Uranus energy demands evolution, reinvention, opening up our eyes, and doing things differently, especially if you feel stuck in a relationship, especially if something needs to grow and transform, even if it's not a relationship. It can talk about your relationship with yourself. It can talk about your relationship with money and income and material needs. This will lead us up into that Leo new moon. This Leo new moon puts the spotlight on the energies of Leo. That's the primary focus of this Leo new moon. Sometimes we have major aspects in the chart. We do have a couple of sextiles. Sextiles are a little bit of a quieter influence. They do give some support for the month, and it talks about, especially with the energies of Mars and Jupiter and Saturn, how do we take our dreams? How do we take our passions? How do we take our joys and put it into our day-to-day lives, make something real about it? While I'm thinking about it, because I kind of forgot about it, we will have Mercury turning retrograde next week, August 5th. Probably at this point you all know that I'm not a Mercury retrograder freaker outer, but it is, for us to understand what a retrograde is. It is a time when a planet appears to go backwards in the sky. Of course, it's not really going backwards. It's an optical illusion. Symbolically speaking, the planet is retracing its steps. It is a yin phase. It is receptive. It is not yang active, which is the forward movement direction. All planets go retrograde. This is my friendly reminder that all planets go retrograde except for the sun and the moon. And Mercury does it the most frequently. That's why we know about it. It's okay. You can live your life. You can take that job. You can. My personal philosophy, if money's on the line and you just feel more comfortable waiting after Mercury retrograde, then by all means. Maybe I wouldn't buy a car or buy a computer unless I had to, but it's not the end of the world. if you have to do that during Mercury retrograde. You can sign a contract. Everybody, you're welcome to disagree with me. I have moved, I have signed leases, I have broken up major relationships all during Mercury retrograde. I don't know, maybe that's just the way that I see things, but I do think that we do need to understand that Mercury retrograde is a time to listen to ourselves, to listen to our intuition, because Mercury is the planet of voice and communication, thinking, listening, and our ability to perceive what is the best choice for us. When something is direct, Mercury direct, we are typically doing things on instinct. Mercury is turning retrograde in Virgo. Virgo is the home sign of Mercury, so it is a little bit of a time, or let's say a Mercury retrograde where Mercury has more power and strength because it's in its own sign. But with Mercury spending part of its retrograde in Virgo, it says that we need to go back and clean something up. We need to relook at the systems and operations of something. Maybe it's a project, maybe it's our life, maybe it's our health and wellness, maybe depending on where that part of our chart is. For example, Mercury will dip back into Leo, which is a bit of a different sign for Mercury to be. It's a much more playful, passionate, and creative place for Mercury to be. But it does say on some level that this Mercury retrograde period is about really looking at identity, how we express who we are, the choices that we make, and how that really fuels and powers our life, because Virgo talks about the day-to-day runnings and operations and systems of our life. You wake up, you take dog out, you brush your teeth, you make coffee, whatever it is that is specific, speaking of my dog, whatever is specific to your life, you have your own routine. As sort of bland as that sounds, we need that. We need to be anchored into our day-to-day life. So there's something where we need to reevaluate the stuff that we do on a day-to-day level, especially if it is draining us. I mean, I know that we're like, I have to brush my teeth. That's draining me. I have to eat my vegetables. But of course, we need to do the things that are supportive to our health and wellness. But there are things, duties, and obligations that really truly aren't ours. And maybe the retrograde is for us to look back and to reanalyze what is our responsibility and what is not. What is regenerative and supportive for our life and allows the systems to flow, and what does not. Mercury will spend a little, sometimes Mercury is retrograde for 3 weeks. Mercury will be retrograde from August 5th until August 28th. So for most of the month. And then it turns direct at 21 degrees of Leo. So we have the Leo new moon this week on the 4th of August. This is going to bring us into August. It brings us into the energies of Leo, a sign that I actually really love because we all have a sun, S-U-N, somewhere. It might not be in Leo. It might be in a different sign. I'm a Scorpio. But because we have a sun, it is a reminder that we need to shine. Whatever way is appropriate for you in your life, do not forget to shine. So that new moon, it will pick up in the energies of Uranus, kind of, sort of. And so it also might be a lunar month for us to gain a new perspective, a new direction. So when I go through each of the 12 zodiac signs, talk about where that Leo new moon is showing up for you. So let's look at each of the 12 signs. Just your friendly reminder that you can also listen for your rising sign. And if you do not know your rising sign, you, number one, need your exact birth time. I'm so sorry. That's just how it works. Sometimes you can get it pretty close. Sometimes you're like ballpark within an hour or half an hour. It is worth whatever time and effort to get a hold of it. Not always that easy, but that said, you certainly can get great information from your sun sign as well. So let's start with Aries. Aries, so Mars is your planet, and as you recall, it on the 20th of July, so what was that, last week, it went into Gemini. So a little bit of a different energy than it has been over the past 5-6 weeks. Gemini is fast, quick, it needs to move, it gets bored, it gets restless, and maybe you feel the same. It might be just a very busy time for you. Maybe you've got things to do, maybe you have places to go. Some Aries rising, you're focusing on education. For others, it's really about travel and exploration. For some, it's really about how you're using your voice, how you're speaking, how you're listening, and even the choices that you're making. Do keep in mind that this Mercury retrograde does particularly pull back to your sign because your planet is in what's called a Mercury ruled sign. Now, that's a little bit technical, but it just says that there is something about identity, creativity, self expression that is really wrapped up into this retrograde for you. It may be a time when you need to sort of reorient or rejigger or re-put together your day-to-day life and to reprioritize the things that actually are for you versus not for you. There are a lot of times in which we can self-sacrifice, of course, do the things, take care of your children, do the things that are positive sacrifice, but sometimes we overgive ourselves, and then we have nothing left and we're burned out. So use this Mercury retrograde to really get back to you, to recharge your batteries, to make choices that are actually going to set you up for the second half of the year. With the Leo new moon, the Leo is your fifth sign, and so it is in August for you to get back again to the things that light you up and give you joy. I know it sounds a little bit cliched, like, oh, it would be so easy, Katie, if I could just get back to things, but that's the thing. When your batteries are tapped out, Leo, it means that when you get to Virgo, you are grinding your gears. It could show up with your health. It could show up with stress. So it is a time to put the priorities back where they need to be so that you can keep the flow of your life going. Taurus. So Venus is your planet, and it's actually wrapping up its time in Leo this week. It is, depending on how we look at it, it's going to Virgo at the very end of this week. We'll talk about this next week, but for you, wrapping up the time in Leo, for you, Taurus, Leo is your sign of home and family, roots, foundation. So Venus is making a square to Uranus this week, and maybe you're feeling it as like a restless energy, or something needs to change. You need to reevaluate something, especially something around home and family and the household. This is, do keep in mind, Taurus, that you are coming to the end of nearly 7 years. I think it's been 6 years at this point of Uranus in your sign. This is the only time in your lifetime, unless you live another 84 years, unless you're 2 years old, that's not going to happen, and you should be in bed. But this is the only time in your life that you will have Uranus in your sign. Whatever needs to go, whatever needs to change, whatever is holding you back, even if it's the past, home, family, and memories. Of course, we need the support of home and family, but sometimes it becomes something that pulls from us instead of supports us. The Leo new moon on a practical level says that home and family, roots, foundation are going to be a focus over the next 4 weeks. And sometimes that means it's a change in the household. Somebody moves in, somebody moves out, you move, you are planning a move, thinking about a move, or maybe your family needs more attention. Maybe you want to start a family, maybe you're just sort of looking at your household, wanting to make changes, you want to redecorate, and that might be one of the ways in which you see this energy. But it's a time when, especially with the energy of Mars and Jupiter and Gemini, your second sign of money and income, it also could be a time when you're making investments in your living situation, including buying things for your home. Gemini, there's a lot of things going on in Gemini at the moment. I know we've been talking about this, but you've got 2 planets in your sign, one of which takes 12 years to return to Gemini. So it's been a while since Jupiter has been in Gemini. I almost said 1913. 2013, goodness, it was 2013, 2014, I'm thinking. No, maybe it's 2012, 2013. Anyway, I know definitely 2013. Yes, it was 2012, 2013. Okay, I got it. That was the last time Jupiter was in your sign, not 1913. But Mars comes every 2 years, although we did have Mars and Gemini from I do remember this. It was end of August of 2022 all the way to March of 2023. That was a long time. That said, having these two energies in your sign, it's time to set sail. It's time to take action, to move forward. It's not time to be stagnant. And so maybe you're feeling all this rush of new energy and wanting to go forward towards something, even if you're not quite sure what it is. Mars gives you drive, gives you action. It sort of gives you the energy to stand on your own two feet, can sometimes make you a little bit impatient and argumentative. Jupiter, on the other hand, gives you vision. That's the energy of wanting to set sail. And it's the start of a new cycle of discovery for you. Keep in mind that with Mercury coming to the, it will turn retrograde next week on August 5th. Mercury will be pulling at these two energies, including you. It says, yes, you do want to rush forward. You want to start something new. You're ready for new adventures. But with Mercury retrograde, perhaps this is also a time to reevaluate, to sort of see things from a different perspective. Doesn't mean that you can't do anything, you can't move forward. I think sometimes there's this mentality around Mercury retrograde where life needs to come to a grinding halt. No, it just says that the energy is now internal, receptive, yin, not external, yang, active. Listen to your intuition. If you're about to go off on a new direction, is that the right direction? And you're like, of course it is, but is it? And maybe it is. But it says to really spend some time alone, reflect. Mercury is spending time going back and forth between Virgo and Leo. And perhaps when Mercury gets to Leo in a couple of weeks, I will probably have the time written down. Mercury goes back into Virgo, that's September. Mercury, did we do this last week? Mercury goes back into Leo on August 14th. It says that as you go into the second half of August, it's a time to gain a new perspective, to look at different choices. Right now, things are focused on the home environment, your living situation, family, the household. Hopefully you can see how that's relevant to your life. That said, a Leo new moon, Leo and Gemini sort of really go together. They are these two energies that are playful and creative and restless and curious. They want to travel, they want to explore, they want to say things, they want to create. So this is this is an energy that's really pulling at the Mars and Jupiter in your chart. So sometimes we get this thing in astrology where it's like you can see how the energy wants to really punch the gas. But then there's like a retrograde or there's a Saturn energy. And I think we sometimes need that. So we're not just speeding forward. We're actually taking measured steps in a way that is a little bit more grounded and practical and reflective. Cancer. So the moon is really doing a lot of the talking this week. This is actually the case for everybody. And we are coming to the end of the lunar month. So you may feel that as you especially get into the weekend, things are a little bit quiet. That's, you are ruled by the moon. And so you have the natural ebbs and flows. And when the moon gets to the end of its cycle, it's called the dark of the moon or the balsamic moon. It's what I like to call a very witchy moon. It's a time to get quiet, to feel the veil between the other side, very thin, to meditate, to dream, and then prepare for the next cycle, which begins for you on August 4th in the Leo new moon. For you, Cancer, I know we just came out of your birthday season, so the energies of your birthday season, new beginnings, now we go into Leo. Leo is your second sign of money and income, material stability, security, value, and worth. So all these new beginnings that naturally come around the birthday season, even if they are intentions for something new, now is the season, at least after the new moon, to make things real, to put things into shape and form, to gather the resources that you need in order for something to become real in your life. On a very practical level, it could be a lunar month, meaning most of August, where you are focusing on money issues, not concerns per se, but it could be like just making, checking up on your bank account, checking up on your resources, maybe making purchases, maybe not making purchases, and maybe you're looking to make some investments, especially as we go into August and we have that Aquarius full moon. For you with the Venus, the Venus Uranus square, I would actually pay attention to that because Venus talks about doing the math right. Venus talks about your living situation, and you did have changes in your home environment. No, that's not right. Venus don't talk. Venus, yes, Venus talks about your living situation. See, I do the astrology right, because you will have a Libra new moon solar eclipse there on, October 10th. Is that right? No, 2nd, October 2nd. And you did have an eclipse there last October 2023. It's for you to see what has been the narrative around home and family, the home environment, the household, even your own family, because Venus square Uranus is this energy that wants to break you free from something. And sometimes we do need to be, break free of the past. Sometimes we need to get out of a rut. So just keep your eye on this new moon, or not this, well, definitely keep your eye on this new moon, but also keep your eye on Venus square Uranus on August 2nd, because it might, in a way, presage the eclipse to come that is on October 2nd and possible changes in the household and living situation. Leo, happy birthday, Leo. So we are now properly in Leo season, and we are crossing into August as we do this week. And so you will have a new moon on August 4th. Now, the new moon, when it's in your sign, and it says that this is a time for renewal for you. If your birthday is on August 4th, plus or minus a couple of days, it means it's even more a time of renewal for you. And I know some Leos like, wait, but don't I get, of course you do. You get this energy every year when the sun crosses into your sign and when you do have the new moon. But it's not every birthday that you have a new moon, either before, on, or just after. And when you do, it's a special year. It's a year of new beginnings. It's a year that turns the page in a way that previous years have not. And depending on the other planetary actors in place, it could be a very big year. That said, you being a Leo and you're ruled by the sun, you are a sign whose one of your jobs is to inspire everyone to gosh, I can't even speak, to be themselves. And I know that there are shy Leos out there. I realize it's not necessarily a sign where it has to be big and bold, but it is the energy of the sun. And whatever way is appropriate for your life, do the things that light you up, that give you joy, that inspire and motivate other people, that allow you to shine, even if it's in quiet ways. That said, Leo, we can't forget that you do have Venus square Uranus this week. This will be a little bit of a seed in the Leo new moon for you. And we've been talking about this, I think I even talked about it last week. You've had Uranus in your career sign for almost 7 years. And this is the only time in your life you're going to have Uranus in this space. And I know that some Leos are like, but wait a second, like, my career is not traditional, I don't have a career, or like I haven't seen career changes. This can come in a lot of different ways, because Taurus for you is, for some people, it's career, it's your public life, it's the title after your name, it is your relationship with duties and responsibilities and the external world. It could be your sense of direction, and we all, our relationship with duties and responsibilities are, of course, different from person to person. It's for you to try to see how this energy has been shaping and turning your life over the last 5, 6, and almost 7 years. Because Venus square Uranus is another flip of the page in this ongoing story. Because Venus is in your sign, it might be a new moon for you where you feel more inspired or push or motivated to take more of a lead, take more of a command in your life towards the future, or towards the public life, or towards the career role that you actually want to do. Again, it's for you to see how this is relevant for your own life. But again, happy birthday, Leo. Virgo, so Mercury is your planet, and maybe you heard me say in the introduction, Mercury is going to turn retrograde, although next week on August 5th. You're it's not a big deal. Like every 3 months Mercury turns retrograde, so this is just the time, every 3 months when you need to pull back, you need to integrate, you need to reflect. It's less sort of punching the gas and moving forward. Like sometimes we need time to reflect and to get inside of ourselves. It's a little bit of a different way of looking at it. You are the only person that knows what's going on inside of you. There's nobody else. You can share, you can speak up, you can talk about your feelings, your emotions, your dreams, your insights, but that private life is yours. And so with Mercury retrograde, it is a time to look within that private space within yourself. Perhaps you do want to share it, perhaps you don't, perhaps you want to be in more of a private space for you. Mercury is in Virgo at this time. It is in your sign. And so you may feel that on one level, there is some sense of forward movement, some sense of new beginning. But you may find that August is a little bit 1 foot in, like whatever is new, and 1 foot in something that's not new. It's from the past. However that is relevant for your life, you may have something that demands your attention. You need to go back and you need to wrap something up. You need to clear something out so that you can truly step into something new. When Mercury goes into Virgo on August 14th, so that's in 2-3 weeks, you will spend the rest of the month and even into the beginning of September in that private space. In a space where you either meditate, you pray, you reflect, you connect to your spirituality, you come to the end of a personal cycle, and you make space for something new. And sometimes making space for something new is physical. You need to clear something out. So that's sort of the divide that's happening as you go from July to August and even to September. Not quite fully moving forward doesn't mean that life is hitting the brakes, but it does mean that there is something that requires your attention. When the sun is in Leo, and more importantly, when we have a new moon in Leo, you, Virgo, have reached the end of your personal cycle. Leo is something called your 12th sign. So there are 12 signs in the zodiac, and Virgo is your first sign, and I count out 12, I reach Leo. It's sort of symbolically like reaching the end of your personal year. So for example, when we reach the end of the year, the sun, it's December, and so we feel sort of the mixed emotions. We look back at the previous year, but we also get very hopeful. Perhaps we make goals and resolutions for the year to come. So this is where you're going to be. What worked over the past 11 months? What didn't work? What do you want to change? What do you want to do differently? What do you want to create as you go into this new year? And again, you might feel like you are between two spaces with Mercury going in and out of Virgo and Leo. This will all prepare you for the Virgo new moon to happen on, I think it's September 2nd. So that's August for you, but then again, that's usually how things roll in August. It's to prepare you for the next chapter and phase to come. Libra. So how are you doing, Libra? As I've been saying, July is the preview to some degree, maybe not the literal preview, but certainly the thematic preview of the solar eclipse that will happen on October 2nd in Libra. Hey, you're a Libra, you're Libra rising. Just remember, Libra, you are beginning to come to the end. This will take us into March, April of next year, but you're coming to the end of this dynamic period where you have had eclipses in your sign. Having eclipses in your sign says that life is a bit loud at the moment. I've said this a few weeks, I always think of like the Libra risings in my life where big things are happening. It's not all bad. It's just when we have eclipses, they are marking the time of our life. They are typically marking major milestones and transitions, births of children, marriages, moves, that sort of thing. So the question for you, Libra rising, is how did July inform that? Did you see the transition already? Did you see something about relationships? And because we had the eclipse in April and that was highlighting relationships for you. Are you sensing that there's a new beginning on the horizon? Do you feel this dynamic energy? Is it something else? Because you have these eclipses, but the one that's going to be on October 2nd will be the last in your sign for another 8-9 years. So that's usually the rhythm. And you can, Libra rising, go back and look. I believe it was 2014-15 when we had last had eclipses in Aries and Libra, and even 2004 and 2005, I think even 97, 90, 96, 90, I have to go back to look at the calendar, but it's like a 9-year half cycle, 18 and a half year full cycle. Anyway, so you are, especially with this week, Venus, your planet, is in Leo. Leo for you is something called your 11th sign, because if I start with Libra and I count out 11, I reach the sign of Leo. When Venus is in Libra, when Venus is in Leo, it's a time for you to look out towards the future, whether that means thinking, visioning, strategizing, looking ahead, whether that means spending time with community, talking in your social circle, networking, especially on a professional level. It's also a time to look towards humanity, your relationship in the world, how you participate. For some of you, you are more cognizant of social issues and social causes or something that's happening in your community. Oh, I think that's a thunderstorm. I'm like, what is that noise? Anyway, so Venus will make a square to Uranus this week, and Uranus is in your 8th, and so it might be a little bit of an emotional week, something that is talking about your future, but maybe for you to see what's in the way, and sometimes it's something deep within ourselves. That's just the way that it works. But do keep in mind, Libra, that you are coming to the end of 7 years. Yeah, 7 years of Uranus and your 8th. It's been a time to liberate, to break free of the parts of you that are typically hidden and getting in the way. Leo new moon on a sort of a surface level says the next 4 weeks are time to prioritize your friends, your community, to make community, to revitalize friendships, especially with this energy. A bunch of planets in Gemini, Mars and Jupiter and Gemini. Maybe it's travel, maybe you're traveling to go see friends, maybe you are thinking about the future, maybe you're talking about social issues, maybe you're standing up for what you believe in, maybe it's a very philosophical time, but it is the air and the fire energy that is very much highlighted going into August, and air and fire are like, they make things move and they make things go, and things are likely moving and going in your life. Scorpio. So, oh gosh, my voice. Scorpio. So Mars is your planet, and Mars is in Gemini. So it's been in Gemini since the 20th of July. So gosh, that's like 9 days ago. It's a little bit over a week. Mars will be in Gemini all the way until September 4th. And I said this last week, and I'll say it again. So Scorpio, you are what's called the 8th sign of the zodiac. And so we really see the duality of life when the sun is in is in Scorpio, at least in the northern hemisphere. In the end of October, November, it is the transition from one life cycle to the next. So that's part of the Scorpio archetype. Scorpio shows that life is life and death. It is light and dark. And if you're a Scorpio rising, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So when Mars is in Gemini, Mars rules you. Mars is now in your 8th sign. Because if I start at Scorpio and I count out 8, I reach Gemini. So this is really highlighting some of these deeper Scorpio archetypes that you are already familiar with, Scorpio. A time to look within, to look at the hidden self, to make changes, to make transformations, to look at themes around power, control, vulnerability, trust. perhaps even money, perhaps even finance and assets and wealth and estate planning. I know that doesn't sound very glamorous, but that's what one of the traditional reasons, the roles that the eighth is estate planning, the establishment of heirs. But that said, this is a time where it might be bringing up deeper emotions. I want to say that because it is pressing on some deeper points. Jupiter is there, and Jupiter generally gives more confidence, it brightens things up, but it also says that this is a time that where you are learning, you are gaining knowledge, you are expanding by doing a lot of the deep psychological digging. So it is a good time to talk to somebody, to feel like you have a guide through your emotional ups and downs. Don't we all? But that's part of life. Maybe you are on a very practical level thinking about material stability and security at this time. Keep in mind, especially as we go into August, Mars and Jupiter will be squaring Saturn. So August is meant to be a month where you need to make some decisions. You need to get real about something. Something might be taking shape and taking form that presses upon some deeper emotions. We will come back to that over the next few weeks. That said, what is Leo for you? Leo is something called your 10th sign, because if I start at Scorpio and I count out 10, I reach Leo. It's kind of funny to think that Scorpio's most public sign is Leo, the sign of the sun, because we always think of Scorpio as a sign that doesn't like the spotlight. And I think that on one level, Leo is the spotlight. Leo is the energy and light of the sun, but it also shows that Scorpio just likes to be in control. That said, Scorpio is a fixed sign, so is Leo. So this is a lunar month for you to really look at the things that fix and hold your life. And to be fair, with Mercury square Uranus, Venus square Uranus this week, what and if anything, or what you feel is shifting, at the four corners of your life. I've said this over the past few years, especially when we were going through 2021, 2022, and 2023. It hasn't been an easy time to be a Scorpio, because the things that were fixed and latched and you thought would never change in 2019 are very different than they are now, very likely. A lot of that change has been focused on relationships and connections. Some of that change has been focused on home and family and your living situation. But this might be a month where you need to start to make some serious decisions that are to concretize and to make real some of the shifts and changes that you've seen, not just over the past few months, but even the past few years. Leo, on a more practical level, a Leo new moon in your 10th sign of career puts the spotlight on your professional life, your public reputation, how people see you, the title after your name. This is, I realize it's August, but August is typically the time of the year for you to get recognition, for you to gain visibility, for you to make a change in your career, a change in your job, and maybe even to get a new job, for example. And that might be one of the natural ways you're seeing this energy manifest for you, Scorpio. Sagittarius Jupiter is your planet, and you've been hearing me say this over and over again since the end of May. It's been in Gemini. So Sag, if we start with Sag or Sag rising and we count out 7, we reach Gemini. So Gemini is the sign, if you could see the circle of the wheel the way that I do, that is opposite you. This is a time where the energy of you is being put towards relationship, connection, and socialization. It is not a time to be isolated. It is a time to be out there to connect. For some Sagittariuses or Sagittarius rises, maybe especially in August with the energies of Saturn, it could bring in relationship or even serious relationship. This is all in advance. I'm getting way ahead of things. You've got the eclipse on September 17th in Pisces, your sign of home and family, your household. You're going to have Uranus going to Gemini starting in 2025. So it's going to be an interesting time to be a Sag or Sag rising over the next few years. In the meantime, especially with the energies of Saturn, it's been a little bit, air quotes, traditional. It's time to settle down. It's time to put down roots. It's time to anchor, which is not always what Sag is typically trying to plan for its next adventure. But first, you got to make sure the foundation is solid. Leo, for you, Sag, Leo is a fire sign. You're a fire sign. Leo is something called your ninth sign. So the energy of the new moon on August 4th says that you go into a month that were travel, journeys, long distance trips, foreign travel is very highlighted, just typically what a Sag or Sag rising likes. If it's not travel, it is discovery. It is the energy of opening up to the world, even if you have to stay in your own, space. Maybe you are traveling, maybe you are staying right at home, maybe you are trying to make your world bigger, maybe you are getting very philosophical, maybe you're focusing on your education, or maybe you have something to say. The role of the ninth is to share your wisdom and your knowledge, and typically Sagittarius has many things to share. It's a typically very knowledgeable sign. So whether you are writing that book, publishing that book, whether you are getting on a plane and going to another part of the world, it is time to make your world bigger, or through your wisdom and knowledge, to make the world bigger for other people. It's one of the roles of your sign. It is to also inspire faith, to make people's eyes open up to something. And sometimes faith also is that very spiritual faith, for example. That said, this energy of Uranus that's in your sixth, I'm just sort of spotlighting this because there has been changes in your day-to-day life. Your day-to-day life looks very different than it did in 2018, 2019. For some of you, it's a need to make changes in health, how you relate to your body, and even how you take care of your body. And with Venus square Uranus this week, it's kind of bringing this story that's been with you 5-6 years to the forefront yet again. Capricorn. So Saturn is your planet, still in Pisces. It'll be in Pisces. And I was having this conversation with I think it was a Capricorn rising. I feel like I had a couple Capricorn rising clients, and I kind of want to hear from you, because if I feel like my Capricorn rising clients, with the energy of Saturn and Pisces, there's just like, things are not quite concrete. That's the energy of Pisces. Pisces is by its nature not concrete. It's the last sign of the zodiac. It's meant to be the intermediary between the material and physical plane and the non-material, non-physical plane. So maybe you're feeling this Capricorn as a very interesting time, a time when things are not quite locked, tangible, real, or anchored. Maybe you love that, maybe you don't love that. It really depends on what type of Capricorn you are. It is a time to really make sure that the material structures of your life, Capricorn, especially if you're Capricorn rising, are filled with the things that actually are meaningful and purposeful, if that's even a word, that give your life a sense of deeper substance and meaning, because that's the real role of Pisces. Pisces says, don't forget about the things that you will bring with you beyond this life, the things that actually nourish your spirit, nourish your soul. For some, it is a time to really focus on voice, communication, even the choices that you're making. That said, the Leo new moon, Leo is something called your eighth sign. So if I start with Capricorn and I count out 8, I reach the sign of Leo. This is your new moon that is typically either end of July or throughout August, where you need to look within. The 8th sign, this is the case for everybody, just happens to be Leo for you. It's a space where we have to look in the mirror. We have to confront ourselves. The way that I frame the 8th for people, regardless of what sun sign you are, is imagine a life that is never tested. Imagine a life where everything is safe, boring, and easy. Do you grow? Absolutely not. So it may mean that August historically has been a month that has tested you, that has sort of provoked you or made you look inward to varying degrees throughout the year. Here we are. It is a Leo new moon. is a time to bring the light of the sun into very private and personal spaces, a space that does touch on vulnerability, trust, power, and control. It does pull on the energies of Gemini with the Mars and Jupiter in Gemini. So it might also highlight the role of health and wellness, both body, mind, and soul, emotional health and physical health, especially that somatic connection that we all have. Aquarius, so Saturn is your planet and it's in Pisces. And kind of like what I was saying to Capricorn a few moments ago, it's kind of interesting, like, how are you feeling, at this point? What are we, like, a year and a half into Saturn's time in Pisces? How are you feeling this energy? Pisces is not, the material, it's not physical. And even though you're an Aquarius, which is an air sign, you are governed by Saturn. Saturn is the planet of matter and the manifested world. With Aquarius, it's about ideas and systems and how our world is shaped by ideas and systems. Even if that seems very broad and abstract, Aquarius is the second to last zodiac sign for you. So you are a life that generally trades in these big ideas, social issues, social causes, science, technology, systems. Of course, it's not, that black and white for every Aquarius. But Pisces, it's not about our physical world. It's about our non-physical world. It's about the things that have substance, the things that are spiritual. And so how do you really put the value and the focus on the things that are actually nourishing you and lighting up your spirit, not just your physical life? There's more thunder. But anyway, that's not where the focus of August is for you. August actually is Leo season, and Leo is your 7th sign of relationships. So when the sun goes into Leo, it is now across the sky from you. Leo is your 7th sign. And so to have a Leo new moon says that this is the time, it's typically end of July or sometime in August for you, when you renew and connect to other people. Of course, we always think of relationships in terms of a romantic lens, but relationships can come in a lot of different forms. So this is, on paper at least, a time to be social, a time to connect, a time to interact, maybe to connect to a romantic relationship if that's something that you want to do. And I know this is a much bigger topic, but you do have Pluto in Aquarius. I know it's a bigger topic, but you have this major influence in your sign that's been back and forth throughout 2023 and even into 2024. And so you are at the start of a major new chapter of your life. It's not quite fully realized and evident right now, but maybe with the Leo new moon, things are starting to become clear how this is starting to become a new era, a new chapter, a new phase in your life, one that you have not seen in this lifetime, maybe a little bit when Pluto was in Scorpio way back starting in 1983-84. I know, 1983-84. Anyway, so this Leo new moon on a practical level says this is the energy of renewal and new beginnings to put towards relationship and connection. And don't forget, we do have Saturn in Pisces. Saturn will be in Pisces into the beginning of 2016. Is that whoever is in your life needs to be a real support for you, somebody that lights you up and gives you joy, but also brings substance, value, stability, and security to your life. And finally, Pisces. So Pisces, Jupiter is your planet. And if you remember me saying a couple months ago, Jupiter is now in Gemini. It went into Gemini at the end of May. It'll be in Gemini until May of 2025. Why is this important? Because Jupiter is like the major hand on your personal astrology clock. It is bringing the energy, of you towards the sign Gemini that happens to be your 4th sign: home, family, roots, foundation. It's a very different energy than the past few years. It's one that wants you to anchor into something. And so whether you are planning a move, whether you are focusing more on family and the household, whether it's personal events around family and home, maybe you want to have a family, start a family, maybe you're thinking about settling down, That's where the major focus is at the moment. Do keep in mind, Gemini, is that you have Mars there. It'll be there until September 4th, and you have Jupiter, you there. So it is a busy time because Mars makes things busy, and maybe the household is not a quiet place at the moment. Perhaps you have visitors, maybe you have boxes, maybe you are trying to redecorate or to make changes in your living situation. Maybe an old issue is coming to the surface, that sometimes Mars really starts to press upon some old points when it's in this part of the chart. August may be a very interesting month for you because Jupiter will square Saturn in the middle of August. And it says that August is a month where something wants to become real for you. Whether it's this new chapter of your life, whether it's relationship, whether it's family, whether it's sort of making some commitments or really marking a new chapter and phase for your life. We'll talk more about this over the next couple of weeks. That said, Leo, for you, is something called your sixth sign. The sixth sign is the space in anybody's chart. It just happens to be Leo for you. That's about the operations of your life. Life needs operations. What are you talking about, Katie? Meaning you wake up, this is the things that you do in order for your life to run. You go to work, you pay your bills, you brush your teeth, you do this. Because if you didn't do this, your life would not run. That's what I mean by operations. So this is a 4-week period throughout August for you to really look at operations, whether that's standard operations or a need to really make some changes in operations. Maybe some of the changes are happening in your living situation, your household, needing to clean things up, clean things out. There is the connection between the new moon and also Jupiter and Mars. Maybe it's a new moon about health and wellness. You need a reboot, a refresh, a time to put some new energy and revitalize your health, your wellness. Maybe, go for a walk, go to the gym, get some fresh air, get some sunshine. Of course, it's Leo season, so that your life can run, it has the juice that it needs in order to run. So that is your look at the energy, or the astrology, or the energy, however you want to look at it, of July, I almost said 2019. Where's my brain today? Mercury must be turning retrograde soon. So for the astrology of July 29th through August 4th, 2024, and that Leo new moon and going into a new month. How is it August? You can follow me online at empoweringastrology.com. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Spotify. You can book a consultation with me. Many of you are my clients. You can also sign up for my newsletter. So all the links are in the show notes, and I will see you all next week. Take care. Bye-bye.